We'd been approached a lot about doing steelbooks for other companies because we've got some really fun stuff that we're working on. We didn't want to just start sticking images on a cup. I know folks had some issues with some of them arriving damaged. That wasn't our fault. It's our name on the door in some of these, and we're getting a lot of grief, and we've got something really special planned. If there's any Warner Brothers snipers hanging around, that was a huge investment for us. It wasn't a cheap license to get. It's got to be titles that we care about. It's around building a community and not just flogging stuff. There's been a huge creative chunk that's been pulled out of the market. But no, it's been fun. It's been really good. Both the big box and the Steelbooks will be available at the same time.
I've been lucky enough to get a conversation with Vice Press. We delve into their Film Vault series and the damage issues some of those suffered, along with if there's anything else coming from that range. We also discuss their Film Vault Steelbook releases, their new VHS releases, their fantastic artwork, and also their new product lines that they've got coming up. I've put timestamps below in the description if you want to skip around, but without delaying any further, let's dive into the interview. Welcome, James from Vice Press Home Video.
Thanks for having me, Phil. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll kick us straight off. So, Vice Press, I understand you're approaching anniversary next year. I think it's your 10-year anniversary. You started in 2015, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, me and Matt Ferguson, my business partner, we started Vice Press 10 years ago next year. So our first release was 10 years ago next May. So I've aged significantly in the past 10 years, both in looks and in energy.
Yeah.
But no, it's been fun. It's been really good.
How did you get started with Vice Press, and when you started it, what was your mission? What did you want to accomplish with Vice Press?
So Matt and I'll kind of go back a little bit further. So I used to write for a few film websites, do articles and things. A lot of them don't exist anymore. I've always been a comics fan, always been into films, always been into Blu-ray collecting, Steelbook collecting. So I used to do bits and bobs along those lines. I also started getting into collecting movie posters. I've always had a couple of Drew Struzans on the wall back to when I was living at home with my parents, and then in my first flat, I had Drew's Mallrats framed up on the wall. So I was kind of always into that a little bit as well. Parallel to me doing that, Matt was starting his career illustrating for films. He'd been spotted by Marvel, by Kevin Feige, and got asked to do the box set, Steelbook box sets for Avengers. So he'd started to do that. I'd started to collect posters from the likes of Mondo, Bottleneck Gallery. Then Matt started creating artwork for them as well as for Bottleneck Gallery as part of his career. And I got asked if I'd like to do an article for a website. I can't remember what website it was now, on film poster collecting, because they knew I'd been into it and they kind of were seeing all of this kind of pop up, like I say, with the likes of Mondo, with the likes of Bottleneck Gallery. So I got chatting to Matt online. We realized we lived relatively close to each other. My job at the time was working in Sheffield City Centre. He worked at HMV in Sheffield City Centre. So we decided to do it old school and meet up face to face for a beer and have a chat and do an interview then. And we got on really well. Subsequent to that, we started hanging around a bit. He did his very first Thought Bubble convention over in Leeds, over at the Royal Armouries. And we kind of got chatting, and we decided that, and we both got this passion. Matt really wanted to set up his own business. He wanted to set up a coffee shop, I think, called Cakes and Comics, that was a coffee comic shop that also was an art gallery. I'd been thinking about, I'd really like to start doing my own license prints and stuff along those lines. And we both shared a love for 2000 AD, for Judge Dredd, Rebellion, all those titles. And we kind of thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could get a license to do that? Because no one's really ever done that before. You know, everything's the big American films. So that's what sparked it off, really. We approached 2000 AD, Rebellion, we set up Vice Press. There's a bit of a kind of a, with basically our objective was to create posters and film prints and movie prints and art prints for stuff that hadn't really had anything produced.
Yeah.
So, you know, 2000 AD was a good example. No one was really working with them on this kind of thing. We worked with Studio Canal on Attack the Block, again, a film that me and Matt both loved. Joe Cornish, who were both big fans of Adam and Joe and things along those lines. So that's what it really started out as. We wanted to create stuff for properties and films that were very British centric, but that we both enjoyed. And since then, really, we've not abandoned that approach, because we still, everything we do, every product, every release, every title we work on, from film posters right through to Film Vault, right through to Vice Press Home Video, is all stuff that we are passionate about,
Yeah.
because we feel more than anything there has to be a credibility in what we do. We never want to do anything as a cash grab. We never want to do anything cynically. We never want to do anything because it's a hipster thing. I mean, I'm not a hipster. I've got Boba Fett helmet there. It's like we want to do stuff because we enjoy it and we like it.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that'll happen to be big films like Jaws, and sometimes it'll happen to be relatively tiny films like Suspiria.
Yeah, I get that from your website. It's all quality. It feels like it's a curated collection of things for your personal taste and your love, and that sort of passion shows on the website with your choice of titles. I mean, looking at the website, I mean, I've brought it up here. Some of the latest releases, like the Dune Part 2 and the Terminator image there as well. I mean, they're fantastic choices in my eyes.
Oh, thank you.
In my eyes, I think they're really good. Obviously, initially, you started off, was it just the artwork you started with initially when you started Vice Press?
Yeah, we just started doing film posters. So there was kind of this alternative movie poster scene. Like I say, that Mondo kind of started, or more specifically, it was an artist called Tim Doyle. Tim Doyle jointly set up Mondo with Justin Ishmael under Alamo Drafthouse. And they were kind of doing the gig poster approach to movie screenings, which I find really cool. You know, they were doing them as screen prints and things. And we thought, you know, how can we do something like that, but with our own twist? So
Yeah.
we never set out to explicitly copy anybody. And I think that's been more apparent as Vice Press has gone on, because we're always kind of told, oh, you shouldn't do it that way, you should do it this way, or this is how you're supposed to do it, or this is what you should be doing. We're like, we don't want to do that. We want to do it how we want to do, and how, you know, how collectors and fans of that thing want as well. So the first and foremost, what we wanted to do is, we didn't want to create posters for poster collectors. We wanted to create posters for fans of the titles. So
it shows on some of the titles that you picked as I was flicking through earlier. The Big Lebowski. I mean, I think that's a great piece of art, a great image on there, and it speaks to me about the movie. A lot of the artwork they see includes the bowling, but no one includes the rug. This has got the rug in it.
Yeah, and then in floating above LA in that kind of scene.
Yeah.
So that's an artist called Dave O'Flanagan, who's worked with us a couple of times. Dave's great, and you hit the nail on the head about the poster and the telling a story. It's something we try to do. Matt talks about this much more eloquently than me. Film posters don't have to be floating heads. They can be very nice. They don't have to be a direct scene from the film. You can take creative liberties. What they have to do is tell a story. They have to tell the audience about it. That's what film posters were about. That's what the artwork was about. It was about selling a film. It was about selling it. So people go and watch it. So it has to tell a story in a snapshot. And that's what we tried to do, essentially.
Yeah, and I think you capture it beautifully in the titles that you've selected.
Thank you.
How has your pick of products changed over time? You've obviously not left the artwork behind, you still incorporate that, but how have you incorporated the new products into your collection, and how do you pick the products or licenses that you use?
Well, that's a really good question. So what we, again, with the videos and like with Film Vault, there's two channels really. Some of you know we do Film Vault with Warner Brothers and used to be with Universal as well. It's just Warner Brothers now. They approached us to create the artwork for that. So we didn't create the boxes, we didn't design the layouts and things. We kind of created the art. It's very much a Warner Brothers product. However, when we were approached about doing that, because we've done Steelbooks in the past, we've done things along those lines. We want, from the get-go, we kind of said, right, it's got to be titles that we care about and that we think we can add something to. And it doesn't, so it could be quite esoteric. So while we didn't necessarily specifically choose the titles there, we got a say on whether we wanted to do those or not, and switch and swap in as we went through. And I can't say a huge amount about it, but there's been more of that with Wave 3 that's hopefully coming out early next year that Matt and Florrie are working on the art for at the minute. With everything else, it's about the core, sticking to the core of what we do. The core of what we do is creating artwork for things that we love. So how can we utilize that artwork in other ways that stick with fundamentally what we do? So we didn't want to just start sticking images on a cup or sticking images on a lunchbox or whatever. We wanted it to kind of be integrated more into things that we care about. We'd been approached a lot about doing steelbooks for other companies, doing designs for other companies that we could pop a VHS logo on, or pop Matt's name to, or whatever other artists we work with. Approached a lot about doing vinyls and things. Now, I had in my mind years ago the idea of doing, I'd love to do videos, I'd love to do VHSs, just because it was my entry point into this kind of world. And those old VHSs, think back to when we were kids and the artwork that was used and how they were laid out. It was so cheesy, but also so cool, and it was kind of had a weird kind of kitsch design element to it. And again, it was kind of us deliberately trying to do something that really wasn't being done. There are other independent companies that do it as well, but we wanted to do something that we thought was cool and that we would happily collect and have, but also that was kind of sticking with that idea of art and design. So that's really why we started Vice Press Home Video. It was kind of almost a direct reaction to this whole road that's going on a route to fully digital. It's like, well, let's take it right back to the very beginning. Let's take it back to the beginning and put that whole approach into it. So it's been quite a fun learning curve. It's been a challenging one. It's been the most challenging thing that we've done. But it's been a rewarding one. It's been fun. But again, just to re-answer something you were saying, with poster collectors, a lot of the poster collecting world is screen prints, which are great and lovely, and they look really nice. They're really tactile. We decided very early on that we weren't going to be exclusively screen prints. We were going to explore other print methods for a couple of reasons, really. One, that we could continue to make things affordable for the people that wanted to get them in their hands, because screen prints, especially when you add in licensing costs and making sure you pay artists fairly, which is important, because we wanted to make sure that everything was kind of paid fairly, that they just weren't always practical. So we kind of went down the fine art lithograph route and stuff along those lines, which was just not really being done, but ends in a great product at the end of the day, which folks like.
Absolutely. I'm going to swing back around to VHS in a few moments, but coming back to the Film Vault, that series of releases, it's been massively popular, not only for collectors, but I think the lovers of the artwork and things like that. Was it difficult to get started with them with the licensing, or did you mention that Warner Brothers approached you because of using the artwork?
Yeah, so we that wasn't originally our idea. We were approached by Warner Brothers and Universal. They kind of came to us and said, look, we're joint over the next couple of years, we're jointly going to be releasing titles together. They've got some kind of deal. I can't remember the ins and outs about it. And they were kind of distributing jointly films across their catalog. And they were wanting to create a new product. They wanted to create something different to Steelbooks, but from the very, very beginning said, we're not ruling that out. We might bring that in later. And they asked us if we wanted to get involved in creating the art. They showed us the layouts and the designs, and we said, yeah, absolutely. I think the original plan was that it was going to be, each film was going to be done by a different artist, So like Matt would do Blade Runner and Florrie would do Goodfellas and another artist would do 1917. But the practicalities of it very early on didn't make that feasible because of spinning too many plates and the timelines and everything like that. So Florrie and Matt decided to kind of do it jointly, so everything would be done via them. And then that ended up being really popular. So that's now kind of the model that we're sticking to. You know, there's always challenges with these kinds of things. Those first two waves in the big boxes, I know folks had some issues with some of them arriving damaged internally because of the acrylic thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't our fault. I think I don't want to kind of throw anyone under the bus, but me and Matt were against that from the start.
One of my
Sorry, go.
questions for the collectors of the box sets, obviously because collectors very much care about everything that's in the box and the state of the box. Is there any sort of contingency that you have when you're supplying these sets for people that receive them damaged or anything like that?
Well, again, it's kind of that wasn't very, because in the first wave, we weren't involved at all in the manufacturing and distributing. Like I know we got, as part of us creating the art, we had an allocation of those that we then sold ourselves on the website. But yeah, I because it was something new, and I think it was done with good intentions. It was kind of very obvious early on that they ended up the kind of blocks were the cause of some of the damage internally, which after that first wave, we kind of said, look, this has to be sorted out because it's our name on the door in some of these, and we're getting a lot of grief, and this is something that we're not responsible for. And in fairness to the guys that we were working with, they held their hands up and said, yeah, look, we know it's not ideal. It was done because they genuinely wanted to create something cool and different. It just didn't quite work. So the boxes in wave 2 were reinforced and double kind of made, and they did loads of test shipping and everything. But the same thing ended up happening, however, to a much smaller amount.
Yeah.
So I think in wave 1, it was something like, again, pardon me, I don't know the exact figures. I think it was like 1 in 3 in wave 1. And then in wave 2, it ended up being like 1 in 10. So it's still, so it reduced. But obviously, as we know, when things go wrong, the people that shout loudest, it tends to be the people that it happens to. What we were doing as Vice Press is any that we sold that ended up having that damage, we were kind of figuring that out with the customer on a case-by-case basis. Because the last thing we wanted to do was for anyone to be disappointed. But obviously, with us ultimately not being the manufacturer of those and kind of just creating the artwork there, we couldn't speak on behalf of other retailers.
Yeah, I get you. One of the questions, I think you kind of answered it already, with the Film Vault series with your waves, is it something that's going to continue? You've mentioned wave 3. Is the tentative plans for further waves after that?
I mean, I can't go into too much detail. With these things, it's always a case of we never thought it'd get past wave 1 because we thought that while we loved them and they were cool, we didn't know. We thought it might be too different for the marketplace and that Steelbooks were loved and this, that, and the other. But it did, and they were really well received, albeit with a couple of teething issues. And then we went into wave 2. Universal Warner Brothers no longer distribute Warner Brothers titles anymore. So we're not planning too far ahead because ultimately that's up to Warner Brothers. We will continue as long as they want us involved.
Yeah.
And as long as we're doing films that we enjoy and we want to do art for. So wave 3 is in the works. No one's told me that I can't say that. And that my understanding is that it will be, and again, this is subject to change, so please don't take it as gospel.
Yeah.
That both the big box and the Steelbooks will be available at the same time. Because I know that quite rightly there was with that there was a lot of Steelbook collectors that were like, we want to see this artwork on Steelbooks, and vice versa. Which is why Warner Brothers brought the Steelbooks out. But with this one moving forward, what they don't want to do is to ostracize anybody that bought the big boxes the first time around and didn't then subsequently buy the Steelbook. So my understanding is that they're going to be available on both the big box and the Steelbooks.
That's good.
I at least know that we're designing both options.
Yeah.
Anyway,
At least customers will get that choice if they want one or the other or both at the time of
yeah.
release. Is there going to be
Yeah.
any restriction on ordering both if customers wanted to do that, or is it free for all?
I don't think so. I think that'll be kind of, there'll be more on information at the time, and
Yeah.
we'll obviously have our special editions hopefully, and we've got something really special planned as well with a couple of special editions.
Oh, you make me want to ask for hints, and I know you can't go.
No, it's something really, especially for the two films in question. It's going to be awesome.
Good. I look forward to hearing more on that. Is there any timescale for this that you may be able to start teasing?
Well, one of the reasons why Matt couldn't join today is that's Matt's big job at the minute, is finishing the artwork. So I believe it'll probably be January. But again, if there's any Warner Brothers snipers hanging around,
close your curtains.
But it has been a fun project.
With the online store, is it the artwork that is still the most popular for you, or is there any other product that's sort of overtaken that?
No, so the posters and art prints are still our main product line. We had our first T-shirt release, as you kind of showed on the screen a minute ago, with the Terminator.
Yeah.
We're wanting to move next year into doing more capsules, so where there'll be posters and T-shirts available together, sometimes a VHS as well. Like, we've got more VHSs planned. I think posters will always be our core product line. We're not introducing these product lines to displace those. We're introducing these to give more people the choice to have that artwork that we create just more in a medium that appeals to them.
Yeah.
So it's, what we don't want to do is to kind of move away from that. It's just the T-shirts, again, something we've always been asked, and me and Matt have been going back and forth around how to do that for a good 18 months now, because what we didn't want to do was just start slapping stuff on a T-shirt for the sake of it. Yeah, and similar with the VHSs. I think when our next VHS is announced in early January, which we've already teased, we're doing They Live. We're releasing They Live with Studio Canal, which is going to be available in January. We've had all the test tapes in now. We've had all of those through, and we're reusing some of Florrie and Matt's art that they created before, but reusing it and redesigning it to fit with those in a new way.
Very awesome. On the flip side, I'm going to see, is there any product that you've done in the past that's not done so well for you, that you sort of not going to continue with, any sort of line that's not failed, but not met expectations?
Again, it's a really good question. I think it's more around titles, and I think you can, whenever we plan to do a title, we always there's always a degree of uncertainty. Like with Star Trek, when we took on Star Trek, that was a huge investment for us. It wasn't a cheap license to get. There's a collector's fan base. Matt's a huge Star Trek fan. He's got the Delta signal tattooed on his chest. He knows Star Trek in and out. His knowledge of it's phenomenal. We didn't expect that to be as successful what it was. They're some of the most popular posters that we've ever done. So that's more of an example of where we didn't expect it to be as successful as it was. To answer your question about stuff that's not done well, we expected the Monty Python stuff to do much better than what it has. It hasn't done bad by any stretch, but it hasn't. We thought that there would be more Monty Python enthusiasts that might enjoy it. And we've done two very different styles, and we've got one more poster coming up that is more of a classic Monty Python style. But yeah, it's more that sometimes when something doesn't quite find its audience, that's always a little bit disappointing. But the way that we always look at it is, if we're proud of the art and the art's great, then fundamentally that's all that matters. We're very different from a lot of galleries in the US that do similar to us, because within these collectible movie posters, there's a bit of a um, like a false economy around stuff selling out. There seems to be oh, this has to sell out in half an hour or an hour, and to us it feels quite elitist,
Yeah.
and it makes it kind of like that steelbook collector market, where the steelbook collector market is. I don't pick them up anywhere near as what I used to, because I used to have had hundreds of steelbooks, but the whole process of midnight drops and all the kind of different variants and things and stuff selling out, it just kind of became that folks were getting it for the sake of it because it was selling out. And so we kind of decided what we want to do is, we want to make sure that we set edition sizes so that they're still limited edition, so that somebody is always going to have something that's very low run and very special. But if somebody takes a week to notice that it's there, or a couple of weeks to notice that it's there, then it's not going to be like, oh, you should have been here sooner, sucker. We don't want that. So that's always hard to gauge. But yeah, sorry, I moved away from what your actual core question was. Yeah, it's more film titles sometimes that perform not as strong as what you'd hope, which is always which is a bit of a shame, really. Like The Mummy, we did an amazing poster by James Basima for The Mummy,
Yes.
and we thought that we expected that there's been a bit of a Brendan Fraser renaissance, 25th anniversary of the film. We were kind of wondering, oh, have we set the edition of this too low? And we hadn't. So we sold out. We sold about 2/3 of the run, but we thought that that one might do better than what. Not better. Better's got a negative word. We expected that one. We expected that we'd set the edition size too low on that, when actually we'd probably set it more in line with what the market demanded, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it just yourself and Matt, or do you have employees now?
So Matt and I run the business, and then we have my wife works for us. So
Oh, right.
there's the three of us. So yeah, and then we have so obviously we employ artists because of our business model and how we work. We don't have to have a huge employee number, because we need somebody to handle the shipping. So my wife handles all the shipping and distribution. I handle the licensing, the finance, and the admin, and Matt handles the creative. So Matt works with the artists and things. So we're getting to the point where we are going to have to employ people, because we are growing to the point where we need, I help out with the shipping and do that, but then I'm being pulled to make sure we do other things. And it's essentially just to keep up with customer demand. So yeah, we are much smaller than what I think people expect, but that's because we work with printers, and we work with artists all around the world. So a lot of the stuff that some folks maybe do in-house, we work with other companies to do that. But everything we do is dispatched by us. So we have a warehouse in Sheffield that everything comes into, everything gets numbered there, and everything gets distributed from there.
Nice, nice. And I'm going to swing us back round to the
Yep.
VHS thing. Now, the retro physical media, it seems to be having quite a resurgence. I mean, we've seen this sort of resurgence with vinyl, and now it's VHS that seems to be heading that sort of way. What do you think the draw is to people purchasing and picking up VHS now? Well, now we're at an age of the higher definition formats.
Yeah.
What's that? What do you think that pull is for VHS?
I think there's two reasons, and I'm open to being wrong. This is just my personal opinion. we live in it, like you say, we live in a world of streaming where anybody can get anything in the most clear, high def thing, sat in their pants on the sofa. You know, you can do that. You can walk into your living room and do that. Might have to pay for it. You might not. It might be on one of the many millions of streamers. So there's that convenience there. But I think where we're kind of seeing a move back into retro media is one, because of nostalgia. I think, you know, nostalgia is a huge thing.
Yeah.
It kind of tugs on something, and it's not a negative thing. It's nostalgia's a can be a very positive thing because it's kind of brings out an emotion in you. It brings out memories. It brings out a feeling that kind of within you. And I think there's that. You know, folks yearning back to their childhood or when they was younger or when they used to kind of have these things. The second is we're living in a world, like I said, where you can go in, pull anything up on the screen, where things are less tangible than they used to be. Things are less physical. We kind of, as collectors, we almost look at things like trophies. But there's, you know, it's kind of like having something in your hands that you can feel, that you can touch, that's been made by somebody, that's been created by somebody. It kind of goes back to those end-to-end processes where a film was conceived, it was written, it was made, it was put in a cinema, and then it was released, and you picked it up and you had it in your hands in the home. You know, there was every step of the way, there was somebody involved there in the creative. At the end of that, you know, when you get to the big streamers, there's been a huge creative chunk that's been pulled out of the market. You know, the people designing the boxes, the illustrators, the stores that we used to go to or rent them from, and they're kind of having them on display on your bookshelf. That's all been kind of taken away. So I think folks are wanting to go back to that a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of I kind of spotted, because I've got a couple myself, and a friend of mine has kind of co-edited a book on VHS collecting. There's a lot of people that love it. We know that the quality is never going to be as good, but there's a charm to it. I mean, I've got a VHS TV combi down here. Sometimes I do, yeah, it's just literally just next to, just down there, that I pop on here sometimes. You know, and in the office I think we've got about 4 or 5 VCRs now. There's a charm to it. It's never going to be great. It's never going to be the best view. So it's a mix of nostalgia, and it's a mix of having that tangible, physical thing.
I spoke to a few people. I've got a video shop that's local to me. That's an 80s video store, and I went in there. They had an event, tape stock, where people were trading and selling tapes and things like that. Well, I interviewed a couple of guys there, and a couple of them spoke about the love of the ritual with VHS, being able to pop that case open and put the cassette in and then hear it whir and the machine spark to life. And that ritual is the thing that sort of they love about the format. It's do you get that? Do you get that? Obviously,
100%. It's because, especially, we had a box the other day delivered of the test copies of They Live, and I kind of, Florrie was coming over from Australia for a few days. He's based over there, so I deliberately waited so that when he got into the office, there was Matt, Florrie, and I there, and we're doing with They Live is on the slip cases, as you might have seen with some of our previous releases, they're screen printed with something on them. What we've done for They Live is we've had completely white tapes made, so not printed onto black. They're white V10s, V0s. I can't remember the terminology. The actual white tapes with then one of 5 slogans screen printed onto them.
Nice. Yeah.
So they're going to be completely blind boxed, so that you don't know which one you're going to get. So we all took turns opening them just to kind of see which one was in there. But it is that ritual, and it's kind of like, so it's like, oh cool, what's it going to look like, what's it going to feel like, this, that, and the other, and kind of pulling it out. So yeah, no, I completely get it.
That's great. I'd say I like that. It'd be nice to see play just splattered across the middle, but no hints.
Mhm.
So don't give it away.
No, no. But going back to what you were saying about the ritual, my nephew, one of my youngest nephews is only 8 years old. And when we got I mean, anyone working for the BBFC can ignore this. When we got the Evil Dead 2 tapes in, I was like, "Oh, Zeb, come and look at this." He's like, "What is it?" Like, and we kind of put the TV on and kind of put the cassette in and everything, and he was just amazed by the whole thing, and kind of actually
Yeah.
going through it. But we're hoping to next year, all being well, we should have a more kid-friendly VHS release.
Do you put trailers on the start of your VHS tape before the film, or is that a whole licensing night?
No, we're not allowed, sadly.
Yeah.
Something we wanted to do, and we had a Vice Press home video stinger made so that when someone first popped in, it'd have the Vice Press kind of home video thing pop up. But unfortunately, on the releases that we've done so far, we've not been allowed for
Yeah.
licensing
Yeah.
to use it, which I get. It's a shame, but I completely get it. It's it's to avoid confusion as to whether we were involved in the filmmaking of something that was 40 years old.
Yeah.
But I
I
get it.
The thing that I'm getting with these retro formats and the collecting of the VHS and Laserdisc that I don't get from the newer formats like the 4K or things like that. There seems to be a stronger feeling of community from the collectors for the
Yeah.
retro formats than there are in the newer formats. Even though there are loads more new collectors for the newer formats, retro just has more of a community feel. It's more accepting, more friendly, and I don't know. Do you find that with the people that come to visit your booth? Because obviously it's the kind of retro films on a lot of that you sort of focus on. Do you
Yeah,
sense of that?
it is. We did Thought Bubble this past weekend, and even last year when we first launched Evil Dead 2, and we had them on display, and the folks that kind of came up and were like having a look at them and asking, "Oh, do they play?" Yes, it plays. And kind of flicking through it. And a lot of these guys were collectors and shared and kind of go through that. So it's kind of that look of excitement that folks have, and then they talk around their own collection and what they've got. Um, and I dip in and out of the groups and on some of the blogs and things. And you kind of have chats with people and discuss it. And like I say, I've kind of been on the fringes of some of the collecting communities with the VHS for a while again, because one of my best friends is really active in that, and I think he might have gone to the same thing that you went to recently,
Yes.
because he was, unfortunately I was away. We were away with work, so I couldn't go down. But Adam had kind of been down and kind of gone to a few of those. But yeah, it's with anything, it's the same as the posters. There's this community, and I think it has to be supported, which is one of the reasons why we did our own convention last year, and that we're doing it again next year. And we're going to try and kind of get more of the VHS community involved in that to a degree as well, because we know there's some guys that make some amazing customs and things. We're not snobby in terms of, oh, you can't do that because it's not official or whatever. We're like, this is it's ace. It's good that
Yeah.
these things exist. It's good that people share these things and create them.
It's like
Oh,
this
nice.
from the Straight to Video, the 80s video store. They do the VHS boxes of the membership packs, and yeah, they're all pop out there. They've actually made me a couple of custom ones there as well. So
Oh, really?
yeah, oh yeah, the community is really ace there. It's really, really good.
I'm gonna have to go down because it's not too far away from me, and I might have to reach out to them and see if they want a few copies of anything that we've been doing. Because what we did with the Suspiria release is we're friends with some independent record stores, so we reached out to them and asked them if they wanted to stock Suspiria and Evil Dead.
Yeah,
And again, that kind of went down really well because I think there's quite a crossover between both the vinyl collector market and the VHS collector market as
yeah,
well. So yeah.
absolutely. I think it'd be agreeable to. I can put you in contact with them or get the owners to contact you. That's no problem with that. But
Yeah, awesome.
I know they
Cheers,
do
Phil.
stock they stock Lisa Downs documentaries. She did the Life After the Navigator, Life After the Flash. They stock that kind of thing for her as well. So yeah,
awesome.
they're definitely building a really good community over there. So it's well worth getting in touch, because Rob and Chris that run it, they are in those circles, so they know a lot of guys in that VHS arena.
Well, it's also good because I think one of the, quite rightly, with anything, when you have a big company that's stepping in and doing official versions of something that you've collected for a long time, you're always going to get a degree of skepticism from some people. You know, it was quite interesting early on, folks. We kind of got the odd comment calling us hipsters and that we didn't know a lot about this community. And you can kind of get on the defensive a little bit with it because, as I said earlier, I think I'm about as far from a hipster, me and Matt are, as we can get. And it's something that we genuinely enjoy and generally care for. But the only way that you can, I guess, show that that's not the case is by continually, one, listening to feedback, which we've listened to a lot. You know, there's been a couple of road humps with this, with these releases. And secondly, just being kind of true to what you say you're going to do and kind of making the whole thing credible. You know, we're doing it because we enjoy it, and we're doing it because we it's something that we think other people will enjoy too. You know, and we're not selling them for $60.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, I think we've already covered this, but I was going to ask you if there's any new product lines that you were considering, but I think we've kind of gone over that, and it's a lot of, you can't really give too much away for anything.
Yeah. Our main focus now, we've kind of got a really nice mix with the posters, the t-shirts and apparel, and the videos. That's going to be our kind of three avenues moving forward. Although saying that, the posters, we've got some really fun stuff that we're working on, which I can say next year we're launching quads and one sheets. So anyone that's been following us for a while will know that Matt's been working hard on remastering a lot of the Star Trek posters with the Bob Peak estate. They look beautiful, they look stunning. What we've also been doing is folks have been asking us, oh, it'd be great if they're one sheets, it'd be great if you release quads. We've been figuring out with our printers for the past 12 months how we can do that, but at the level of quality that people are used to from our things. So yeah, next year the poster range is going to be expanding with some quads and one sheets.
With this being now your sort of 10th year anniversary, are you laying plans for another 10 years? Have you got have you got a roadmap to where you would like Film Vault's Vice Press to come to you?
Yeah, 100%. I think one is to maintain our independence and to maintain that we are that we're Vice Press, we're creator owned, we're owner ran. You know, we're not a large conglomerate that's kind of overseen by other folks. But it's to kind of continually work on new licenses, continually keep pushing the envelope, not to do different things, but how can we develop, how can we grow, how can we reach more people? You know, we live in a world of social media, for better or worse, and what we want to do is to bring folks together. So we're planning on more events, screenings, working with the likes of Everyman and Cineworld, and doing more at different places across the country as well. It's kind of, as well as being we want to be a community. We want to make sure that our collectors feel like they're part of a community, that they feel like they have some connection with the brand, that we're not aloof, that we do chat to folks, that we do listen to folks, and that we're just trying to create things that people enjoy. There's a few brands out there that I feel do the same thing. I think Fright Rags, who do a t-shirt brand in the US, a really good example of that. You know, and then there's like golfing brands like Malbon and stuff, that it's around building a community and you know, not just flogging stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And following on from that, I'm going to put you on the spot now.
Sure.
Can you name all the places where fans can find you and join part of your community on social media or wherever else? Can you
Yes.
name?
Oh, I thought it was going to be.
No, nothing bad. This
Yes.
is your shout out to get people onto the right places to learn more about what's coming soon.
Absolutely. So you can follow it. So our website is vice-press.com. You can see all our new releases there. Sign up to our newsletter and find out about Open House, which is our own convention that will be coming back next year. On the socials, we are Vice Press News across Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We've just joined Blue Sky as well, and we're just Vice Press on Blue Sky. That's it. Carrier pigeon? Not yet.
No, but you have. I think I heard you mention that you have got a podcast that you run as well.
Yes, that's the
yeah,
one.
there we go.
We also have a YouTube channel, Vice Press Open channel. It's been 2 or 3 months since we recorded the last episode. Time zone issues with Florrie, who's in the US, and us gallivanting off and doing things for various film releases and things. I think we've got about 50 episodes up on there at the minute, and we will be starting to record our end of year recap very soon. And then we should be back to weekly episodes soon, actually, because I think the clocks have changed over in Australia as well.
Good, very good. Is there anything else that you would like to add into this little interview for the viewers, or anything else, or
just really thanks for your time and thanks for reaching out, Phil. I really do appreciate it. And again, to anybody that thanks to anyone that already follows us and that's picked up anything, we do appreciate it. The past 10 years wouldn't have happened without those guys, and the next 10 years won't happen without folks joining us for the ride.